Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope you're all having a good day. I want to talk about logical fallacies. And if you notice the subtitle here, it's Fallacies of Emotional Arguments. And I think that subtitle is important because, once again, I want to go back to the course descriptions. Students will understand the appropriate use of emotional, logical, and ethical appeals in argumentation. In other words, how are emotional appeals oftentimes misused, and how can you recognize the emotional appeals that are misused? Once again, please remember that all images were stolen from the web for the purposes of education. Unless otherwise indicated, the page numbers refer to Everything's an Argument with Readings, the 8th edition, and this is not a formal paper, so be sure to cite your sources far better than I do. Let's look at some definitions of logical fallacies. Number one, they are argumentative moves flawed by their nature or structure. And if you look at the second line here, it talks about they make principled argument more difficult. I said all last semester, I don't know how much I've said it this semester, that I think people in the year of our Lord 2022 or the year of our Lord 2023 are far, far too angry. And I think it's hard to have a principled argument with an angry person. It's also hard to have a principled argument with somebody whose logic is flawed, whether their emotional presentations are flawed, their logical presentations are flawed, or their ethos is flawed. Everyone gets hurt. Second, I think it's important to understand that they can be illegitimate arguments or irrelevant points, and usually they're going to lack evidence that support their claim. And so when we take a look at a lot of these, they are going to be illegitimate arguments. And as we go through these presentations, you will see that some arguments, by definition, are irrelevant points. I think it's important to understand that you, as a writer, need to avoid being caught by these logical fallacies. You lose your credibility, you lose your ethos when you have logical fallacies that are not, logical. That's kind of redundant. Or when you violate some of the rules of ethical, emotional writing. Emotional writing. I think it's also important that one of the things a college education should do is help people detect BS. That all of you should have, by the time you're done with your 4 years at Mount Marty, a built in BS detector. And certainly, I think political speeches, I think advertising, I think a lot of places in this world, people use logical fallacies intentionally because they just want to BS their way through things. But you're in a scholarly institution, scholarly writing should be free of logical fallacies. I think the best way to look at the fallacies of emotional argument is an effort to pull at the reader's heartstrings, raise their blood pressure too often, or over sentimentalize and get people kind of crying or laughing, trying to play with their emotions. And again, remember, it's logos, pathos, and ethos. Your good faith is your ethos. The good faith you establish is your ethos. And if you fail to do that well, I think you lose your audience. Scare tactics. I think that scare tactics are also known as an appeal to fear. It's pretty much what their name is. And they appeal to the possible, not the probable. The other day, I saw that Apparently, there's somebody who thinks that the Earth's core is going to stop spinning and may go in reverse, which will end all life on Earth. I'm guessing that that's possible. It's not necessarily probable, and I really don't want to be too scared of that right now. But if you take a look in advertising, 1/3 of all senior citizens will fall this year. So buy Life Connect. My mother's 88. If she falls, I don't want her lying, in the middle of the living room, unable to get up. So apparently, I'm supposed to buy Life Connect to keep her from falling or to keep her safe. I'm a senior citizen. I'm 65. I think I can probably fall and get up. I'm not planning on buying Life Connect. I think it's an attempt to scare people. Bad breath makes you unpopular, so use Listerine. Nobody wants to be unpopular. Nobody wants to have bad breath. Nobody wants to be offensive. It's a minor scare tactic compared to the Earth's going to end. It's a minor scare tactic compared to health and hip replacement, but it's still a scare tactic. Next, FOMO, the fear of missing out. It can probably be the idea of the bandwagon fallacy that we'll pick up later. But the idea is this won't be around forever, so get it now. And I put it in the scare tactics because scare, fear seem to me to go together. You see this all the time. You're ordering something on Amazon, and all of a sudden, whatever that widget is you're going to order, excuse me, there's only one left in stock. I don't know how many people have bought that last one, but it seems to me that a lot of sites seem to have a low number of everything every time I look at the product on Amazon. I collect stuff, and ever so often you come across these limited editions, these special editions. Sometimes they're called a sprint run. And the idea is you will be left out. You will miss out if you don't buy this right now. And I know there have been products that I've been interested in, and 2 minutes after the product drops, they're sold out. And, then people are selling them at twice the price on eBay. The idea of FOMO, fear of missing out. And on all those things I've missed out on, I'm still alive and well, and things are as good as they're going to be. And then obviously, if you're, we just come through Black Friday a couple months back, all those doorbuster deals, all those countdown timers, all those sorts of things are linked to the fear of missing out. The either or fallacy. What the either or fallacy does is it says you have two choices. And that's it. And any other alternative that gets mentioned can't be legitimate because it's an either or fallacy. You have to be with me or you're against me. It has to be either fully right or you're absolutely positively wrong. And it's going to oversimplify an argument because it's only two sides when there might be a whole bunch of sides. And if you look here, it can also be called a false dilemma or a black and white fallacy. Either way, it's a logical fallacy because I'm going to say 99 times out of 100, 999 times out of 1,000, you're going to have more than two choices. The America love it or leave it. It's a logical fallacy. Perhaps there are options in between, like elect people who agree with you. Perhaps there are policies or options like volunteer with groups that agree with you. Get involved with school boards, get involved with a lot of other stuff, work to change it if you don't like the way some things are. Would you rather do what you love or be stuck in a dead-end job? Perhaps there's something in the middle. Perhaps there's a job that is not onerous, that is not dead-end. You maybe don't love it, but you like it, and it pays the bills, and it gives you a lot of time off, and you get to do a lot of things that you want to do even though it's not the perfect job. And of course, the all time favorite, I apologize for those of you for whom this is a shock. Santa Claus isn't real, but with the little kids, you got two choices: go to bed or Santa Claus will not come. The fact is, it's go to bed so that mom and dad have time to put out the presents. And of course, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Perhaps there should be an option like save your money, um, wait a while, all sorts of things like that. They're either or fallacies. The slippery slope. As an ex debate coach, this one is probably my favorite. And the idea behind the slippery slope is if there's one little thing that happens, all of a sudden we're going to have disaster. If this one thing is allowed to go on, the world will come to an end. I think it starts with the first step might be probable, the next step is a little less probable, and once again, by the time you get to the end, they're more and more improbable. If you don't do your homework, you'll fail your classes. If you fail your classes, you won't get a good job. If you don't get a good job, you'll wind up homeless. Obviously, if you don't do your homework tonight, you probably won't end up homeless tomorrow. Lots of people have missed a homework assignment. Lots of people have failed classes. Lots of people have gotten good jobs out of college by dropping out of college. And a lot of people have jobs they don't like, but they're not homeless. It's a slippery slope. Or if you don't work out today, you won't work out tomorrow. Eventually, you'll stop working out. If you stop working out entirely, you'll gain 150 pounds. If you gain 150 pounds, you'll have a heart attack before you're 45. As a person who spent a lot of his life with too many pounds around his midsection, he has, as of this moment, not had a heart attack, and he's well above 45. That might also be an error in logical fallacy, a sample size that's too small. But the fact of the matter is, I think there are a lot of people who talk about the idea of 3 times a week as a habit. And so if you're working out 3 times a week, you maybe will work out tomorrow even though you didn't work out today. If people don't work out, perhaps they can still have a good diet and they won't gain 150 pounds. And never mind the fact that some people have lived a long time without working out and they didn't have a heart attack. And then my personal favorite. If the government increases the funding for K-12 education, money will be diverted from defense. If money is diverted from defense, China will invade Taiwan and Russia will invade Europe, and the U.S. will be forced to honor its treaty obligations. When the U.S. enters the war, China, Russia, and the U.S. will use nuclear weapons, leading to a nuclear winter and the extinction of all human life. Just think, giving more money to K-12 education will cause the whole world to go extinct. And this is the prime example of some bad stuff leading to more bad stuff, each step more and more improbable than the last. And then, for those of you who want a real world example, the children's book, If You Give the Mouse a Cookie. I don't have a copy in front of me, but it goes, if you give the mouse a cookie, he'll want some milk. He'll want you to do this, and he'll want you to do that, and he'll want you to do something else. And pretty soon, the mouse has the whole house because you gave him a cookie. It's the ultimate slippery slope example. Those of you who read this to your little nieces and nephews or little brothers and sisters are giving them a prime example of the slippery slope. The overly sentimental appeal. When I'm in class, there's the YouTube video here. If you want to Google the YouTube video right now, it's Drink What Your Mama Gave You. And it's using these tender emotions to distract readers from facts. The Drink What Your Mama Gave You is a Diet Coke commercial. And again, if you want to Google it, it's on YouTube. And there's this whole list of quotations that I've got here that talk about mom being great and wonderful and saving your life. And she drank Diet Coke. And so you should drink Diet Coke so you can be like mom. It ignores the fact that Diet Coke tastes terrible, at least in my humble opinion. And it ignores the fact that lots of moms did things like drink coffee and did all of those things. It's playing on nostalgia, it's playing on an over sentimental view of moms, and it's trying to get you to buy something based on that sentimentality. I think it's a classic example. Like I said, if you're not in class, Google it. When we're in class, we're going to take a look at it. The bandwagon appeal. The bandwagon appeal is basically that everyone's doing it. They urge people to follow the same path everyone else is taking. It's an appeal to the masses. Everybody else thinks this. And moms, to go back to the Diet Coke commercial, moms for a long time had the ultimate rejoinder. If everyone else jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? And some of us, I think, were, in our smart alecky way, going to always answer, well, sure, why not? But the bandwagon appeal is to get you to do something because everyone else is joining it. McDonald's, billions and billions served. Obviously, if billions and billions of people are eating at McDonald's, you should eat at McDonald's too. If it's the choice of a new generation, it should be something that you want. It should be something that you're going to join in because you want to be part of the new generation as well. And from the movie Mean Girls, you saw somebody wearing them, and so you bought army pants and flip flops too. I believe that's the end of everything. I hope everyone has a good day. I hope that everyone is able to make class next class period. And if you have any questions, please let me know.